Whole Foods charges $5 for a tiny bundle of herbs that grow like weeds in a free styrofoam cooler.
I ran the math last summer. The 10 plants in this video cost me under $15 to start, fed me through every heat wave, and survived 11 straight days of me forgetting they existed. Here they are, ranked by how hard they laugh at neglect. Whole Foods charges $4 for a sad basil sprig you finish in one stir-fry. A $3 seed packet gave me enough basil for 4 years and counting. I hacked one plant down 23 times last summer, and it kept coming back. This is Thai basil, specifically the everleaf variety that flat out beats sweet basil. Picture your boring grocery basil but spliced with anise seed and a hint of licorice. Purple stems with pointed dark green leaves that look more aggressive than your sweet basil. The flavor lands bold and slightly spicy, then holds steady inside a wok over high heat. Grocery store basil turns to black slime 3 days after the receipt prints out. Thai basil thrives in 90-degree heat that turns your spinach into wet paper. One healthy plant gives you enough basil for weekly pho without ever buying more. You skip the $4 plastic clamshell at the store from June through October. Use a 5-gallon pot because anything smaller stunts the roots within a few weeks. Fill it with cheap bagged compost and stop watching soil mix tutorials on YouTube. 6 hours of direct sun gives you the bushy version that survives a casual heat wave. Water deep once a week and skip the daily misting routine some influencers sell. Throw wood shavings on top so the shallow roots stay damp during a summer trip. Plan on 40 days from seed to your first real harvest off a single plant. Skip the $40 miracle plant food because plain compost does the whole job. Here is the lab note that no other channel will ever tell you about drought stress. Drought stress kills the essential oils that give Thai basil its real punch and aroma. Keep watering steady, or your harvest tastes flat and dull like a fast food herb garnish. Everleaf bolts 10 weeks later than other basil, and that doubles your usable harvest season. You stay in active harvest mode straight through October while neighbors lose their tomatoes. Wait until you see lemongrass take over a full balcony corner from a single grocery stalk. Whole Foods sells one tiny bunch of this weed for $5. No joke. Toss 3 stalks in a cup of water and own this plant for life. I forgot mine for 11 days straight, and the plant did not even flinch. This is sa or lemongrass, the citrus engine of every legit Thai and Viet meal. Tastes like lemon zest with a kick of ginger, sharp but never sour at all. One stalk drops a citrus depth that pure lemon zest cannot ever come close to. Buying these in plastic at the store is the dumbest tax you can pay. One stalk splits into a clump of 15 in about 12 weeks every time. It loves the brutal heat that fries basil and turns spinach into sad mush. You snap the outer stalks and the middle clump just keeps cranking out more. A $5 stalk turns into 20 new ones in just 8 weeks of summer. Pick a wide pot instead of a deep one, since the roots spread sideways fast. Go 12 inches wide minimum, or the clump will choke itself in one season. Any cheap bag of soil works, as long as water drains out the bottom freely. Just mix in cheap compost, and ignore those $40 bottles of plant food scam. Soak the soil deep right after planting, then walk away for a full week. Bury just the roots and never the green stalk, or the whole plant rots fast. Park it in full direct sun all day, since this plant treats heat as fuel. Stop watering daily, since soaking the base is how every new grower kills it. Hack the leaves hard when they sprawl, since the plant just laughs and regrows. Cut too close to the base, and new stalks just stall for weeks on end. That covers the easiest citrus flavor a yard can grow for almost zero money. Up next is a leaf that tastes like peppery soap, and people riot to get it. Westerners toss the leaves, then pay $10 for the same stuff in tea bags. Whole Foods charges $5 for a single tiny bunch of this exact vegetable in plastic. A $2 seed packet runs me 3 solid years of non-stop weekly harvests. You are funding a corporate supply chain for a plant that grows like a weed. Pak Choi on the shelf, and Pak Choi at home, but the exact same plant. Picture a cabbage that traded the dense ball for crisp, white stalks and tender leaves. It is the secret crunch under every decent stir-fry from a real Asian kitchen. The white stalks stay juicy under heat, while the green tops cook down in seconds. Pak Choi cruises through 90-degree heat that puts standard spinach in the trash. Bugs leave it alone in city air, which is rare for a leafy green this tender. Seed to your first real harvest takes 40 days on a sunny apartment balcony. You can pack 20 plants into one small balcony rail and still have walking room. Soak the seeds in warm water for 15 minutes before they ever touch dirt. Drop them in cheap seedling trays packed with whatever bagged potting mix you own. Tiny seedlings show up in 5 days flat without grow lights or fancy heat mats. Set the tray in shallow water for 30 seconds and walk away to do anything else. Use any chopstick to pop each seedling out without tearing the fragile root ball. A 6-inch deep pot handles their shallow roots fine, so skip the giant raised beds. 4 hours of direct sun a day produces a full-sized head without any complaints. Rip off the bottom yellow leaves early because that one move stops most pest issues. Sprinkle a spoon of nitrogen feed at day 20 if you want the bigger, fatter heads. Yank the whole root ball out when harvesting because the root soup tastes even better. Pak Choi yields more usable greens per square foot than any salad mix sold in plastic. Next up is a herb that tastes like cilantro got into a fight with black pepper, and it survives full neglect spreading across a balcony like it pays your rent. Whole Foods sells one withered sprig of this peppery weed for $5 flat, but it doubles every 2 weeks in just a plain cup of regular tap water. Buy one bunch once and feed your kitchen with it for 10 straight years. Westerners know this as Vietnamese mint, but Asians have always called it rau ram. Tastes like cilantro met black pepper at a party, with a sharp citrus finish. Each leaf grows long and narrow, with a dark stripe running across the middle band. One leaf packs more punch than a whole bunch of supermarket cilantro. No joke. It thrives in the kind of humid summer heat that turns your basil into mush. The sharp peppery oil scares off aphids and most bugs that eat your other herbs. One plastic takeout bowl on a windowsill grows more than any kitchen can eat. 20 fresh stems come out of one bowl every week through the entire hot summer. Pick old woody stems instead of soft green tips, since the woody ones root in days. Slice the stem base on a hard diagonal, or roots will sprout twice as slow. Strip every leaf off the bottom half, so all energy pours straight into root growth. Punch 8 small holes through the base of a free plastic takeout bowl. Done. Drop the punched bowl into a larger basin, holding 2 inches of plain tap water. Thread each prepped stem through a hole so the cut base hangs in the water. Cram 20 stems shoulder to shoulder, since loose ones look sad from day 1. Top up the water every 3 days in summer, since this plant drinks like crazy. Healthy rau ram roots run reddish-brown, not the snowy white blogs love to claim. Drop slow-release pellets in the basin, since liquid feed will rot the roots fast. This same recycled bowl trick works for the wild purple leaf coming up next. Next on the list runs $8 an ounce at any Whole Foods near you. Think purple leaves so vivid your kids would swear you brought them home as candy. Whole Foods sells a $6 clamshell, holding maybe 12 shiso leaves on a good day. They call it shiso and treat it like silver, but it grows like a roadside weed. One $2 seed packet has carried my balcony through 3 full summers easy. Vietnamese cooks call it taya too, and Japanese cooks call the same exact plant shiso. Botanically, it sits in the mint family, but the flavor lands nowhere near peppermint. Picture basil after crashing into a lime tree and rolling over a cinnamon stick. Top side glows green, and the underside stays deep purple, which is the Vietnamese variety. Western grocery stores treat shiso like an imported truffle wrapped in single-use plastic. Pests skip it, and the plant survives any neglect a 2-week vacation throws at it. Shiso loves the same brutal August heat that finishes off your basil plants by week 1. One healthy shiso plant outproduces 20 grocery clamshells a season at 0 ongoing cost. Grab any 5-gallon pot lying around, because shiso never demands a fancy raised bed. Fill it with cheap garden soil, mixed with old compost and a handful of rice husks. Drag a chopstick across the soil to make shallow lines roughly an inch deep apart. Scatter the tiny black seeds along those lines, and try not to dump the whole packet. Cover with a thin layer of fine soil and water once until the surface looks dark. 6 hours of direct sun gives you full-sized leaves with the deepest purple color. Pull any random weeds early, since shiso seedlings hate fighting for root room down there. Here is the lab note that every gardening influencer somehow forgets to ever mention. Shiso self-seeds like a maniac, and one forgotten plant can take over your whole bed. Clip the flower heads early, or expect shiso volunteers across your entire yard next spring. Harvest weekly, because Shiso branches harder the more you steal from it, like rosemary does. You end up with so many leaves, the neighbors start questioning your weekly hobby choices. If you think Shiso spreads fast, wait until you watch bitter melon climb a whole fence. Whole Foods charges $7 for a single bumpy melon the size of my hand. 2 old styrofoam coolers gave me 40 pounds of fruit through one full summer. They dangle off the trellis like grocery bags, hoping you pick them before they drop. Asians call this kokwa or bitter melon, the most divisive crop on the continent. Picture a cucumber that fought sandpaper and lost, then refused to seek medical help. Tastes like aspirin crossed with grapefruit rind, and no child will ever touch it. The flesh stays crisp like apple, never going soggy like the zucchini in your fridge. Bugs sample one leaf and quit forever, saving you $40 a year on pesticides. It loves the same humid heat that turns lettuce into a soggy mess in 2 days. $8 at the organic store buys you 1 melon and funds the owner's yacht. 1 vine covers a 6-foot trellis in 6 short weeks of straight summer growth. Skip the ceramic pots, since old free styrofoam coolers grow the heaviest fruit out there. Punch 20 holes in the cooler base, or the roots will rot inside a week flat. Dump in plain backyard dirt mixed with the cheapest bag of compost on the shelf. Rake the soil flat across the top, since lumpy pockets trap water and rot new roots. Flip the cup slow and keep the root ball intact, or new growth stalls for weeks. Drench it deep right after planting, then leave the vine alone for 3 straight days. Give it 6 hours of raw sun, or forget about seeing any fruit on the vine. Influencers tell you to trim every single branch, and that advice will tank your harvest. Only snip the dead yellow leaves down at the base, never any of the green ones. Side shoots make most of the fruit, so let them sprawl across the whole trellis freely. Pick when light green and bumpy, since dark green ones taste like pure cardboard chalk. Up next is a leafy vine that thrives on heat, that fries basil and kills cilantro. The leaves grow thick and slimy, the kind most Americans refuse to even touch raw. Whole Foods sells $5 bags of greens that vine like crazy in summer heat. One $3 seed packet covers my balcony soup pot for the entire summer easily. Stop paying restaurant prices for a leafy green that reseeds itself in any cracked sidewalk. Western seed catalogs call it Malabar spinach, but every Vietnamese grandma knows it as mong toi. Picture spinach that got jacked at the gym and learned to climb walls like ivy. The leaves go slick in hot broth, which is exactly what can and gumbo lovers want. Stems stay crisp under heat, while the thick heart-shaped leaves cook down in 1 minute. Mong toi vines harder at 90 degrees, while your romaine bolts and dies the same week. Bugs treat the thick, waxy leaves like sandpaper and move on to your tomatoes instead. First real cutting comes around day 40, and the vine just keeps producing all season. 1 styrofoam crate vines out enough mong toi to feed 3 soup nights every single week. Skip the seed soaking ritual. Every blog recommends and drop them straight into wet soil. A free styrofoam fish box from any wet market handles 3 vines without buying pots. Drop seeds about 4 inches apart so the vines fight less for sun later on. Push a thin layer of soil over each hole and skip any cute mulch routine here. Splash water over the top once a day until you see the first green sprouts appear. 6 hours of direct sun a day turns the vines into a green wall fast. The vines climb anything they touch, so rig a bamboo trellis before they reach the rail. When something chews the tip, bury that stem back in soil and let it reroot itself. Aged cow manure beats every $40 bottle of fertilizer the garden store will sell you. Push aside the lower leaves and feed manure straight to the root zone for thicker stems. Each cut at 4 nodes pushes out 3 new shoots within a week without any fuss. Stick any cut stem in soil, and it roots within 10 days like nothing happened. Next up is a green that looks like lawn grass but punches like fresh raw garlic. Whole Foods sells a sad tiny bundle of wilted garlic chives for a full $5. This plant lives 5 solid years in 1 pot, with no fertilizer needed at all. Hack it down to dirt level, and it returns thicker within 3 short weeks straight. Asians call this he, while Westerners label them garlic chives or simply Chinese chives. They grow flat like grass blades, not round and hollow like your basic spring onions. Tastes like a raw garlic clove blended into mild spring onion, all in 1 bite. Tiny bulbs split underground each season, doubling your patch with 0 effort at all. It survives the brutal freezing winter that murders every basil pot on your patio. 4 hours of weak filtered sun is plenty. No bright sunny patch needed at all. Skip those $40 fancy soil mixes, since this plant thrives in plain backyard dirt. Forget watering for 10 straight days, and the plant will not even bother to wilt. Rip old crowded clumps apart with bare hands, since pricey tools just slow the work down. Give each split bulb 10 centimeters of space, since crowded ones just choke each other dead. Mix cheap backyard dirt with rice hulls, since these bulbs rot fast in dense wet soil. Throw a thin gravel layer in the pot bottom, so roots never sit in cold standing water. Leave 1 centimeter of white stem above the dirt, since deeper planting just rots the bulb. Plant 5 bulbs in one tight cluster. Since loose shoots flop over like wet cooked noodles, drench it until water pours out the drainage holes, then walk away from it for days. Hack the wild long roots in half before planting, since shorter roots push thicker top growth. Dry the freshly cut roots overnight, since wet open cuts just rot inside 2 short days. Split the root clumps every 3 years, since the patch chokes itself once it gets dense. Up next is a leafy plant that smells like a fresh lemon crushed into a mint leaf. Organic stores charge $9 an ounce for it, which counts as honest daylight robbery. Picture a leaf tasting like lemon crossed with mint and a faint hint of fresh basil. Whole Foods will happily strip away $5 for a few sad twigs of this herb. They call it Vietnamese lemon balm, but a single market stem clones itself like a weed. You never even need seeds because one cheap grocery sprig clones into a whole pot. Vietnamese cooks call it kin gioi, and Western blogs mostly pretend it does not exist. Despite the name, it is not real lemon balm, and the Vietnamese version handles full sun. The flavor lands somewhere between lemongrass mint and a faint pepper kick on the back. Look for tall, upright stems with bright green leaves that have aggressive serrated edges. Most Western grocery chains stock it twice a year and charge a small fortune for it. My balcony trials show it. Shrugs off full midsummer sun without a single wilted leaf. Your store-bought cilantro bolts in 2 weeks, while kin gioi keeps pushing new growth. A $2 grocery bunch turns into months of free herbs across an entire balcony pot. Skip seed trays entirely, because we are cloning this thing from a grocery bunch in water. Grab a healthy 6-inch stem off any cheap market bunch from your local Asian store. Pluck off every leaf along the bottom half so the stem can focus on growing roots. Leave 2 small leaves at the top so the cutting can still feed itself a little. Drop the bare stems into any plastic cup of plain tap water and place it indoors. Park the cup in indirect light, and white roots will pop out within 10 days max. Once white roots hit an inch, chuck them into a 5-gallon bucket of cheap soil. Here is the lab note that the fertilizer companies absolutely do not want you to know. 6 months of testing shows kin gioi grows fine in plain garden dirt without feeding. Keep the soil slightly damp for the first week, and then forget the plant exists. Within 30 days, your free cuttings turn into a full bush taller than the pot itself. You end up with a green hedge of herbs the bunch heads charge $40 for. Next up is a tiny pepper that ranks higher than jalapeno and grows like a houseplant. Whole Foods sells $7 jars of these chilies dried and bagged like saffron. One $3 seed packet gave my balcony 3 years of constant fresh peppers. Birds chow these down whole because they cannot taste capsaicin and just see a snack. Vietnamese cooks call it ot chi thien, which translates to the sky-pointing chili. It clocks 100,000 Scoville units, which is roughly 30 jalapenos in one bite. Picture a jalapeno scaled up 20 times and shrunk down to the size of a fingernail. The peppers point straight up at the sky, which is exactly what the name describes. One healthy plant pushes out 200 peppers across a 5-month growing season. A single bottle pot supplies enough chilies to terrorize a household for the full year. Skip the $40 ceramic planter set, because a recycled soda bottle works the same. Thai chili stays happy at 100 degrees while every other pepper drops its flowers. Use loose draining soil, because Thai chili roots rot the moment they sit in wet mud. Cut the top off a 2-liter soda bottle and fill it with cheap potting topsoil. Poke a 1-centimeter hole right in the middle of the soil with your fingertip. Drop 1 single seed per bottle, since overcrowding ruins both plants every single time. Water once and stick the bottle in the hottest, sunniest spot of your balcony space. Sprouts crack the soil within 10 days if the daytime temperature stays above 70. Bump watering up to daily the moment you see tiny white flowers along the branches. Crush old eggshells onto the soil, since chilies need calcium and store ones. Cost 10 bucks. Without calcium, the pepper tips go black and rot before they ever turn ripe red. Pluck off every leaf below the first branch to push all the energy into pepper production. 6 hours of direct sun a day decides how spicy each pepper ends up at harvest. And that closes out 10 Asian vegetables your grocery store keeps quietly marking up forever. Save seeds from this harvest, and your Asian vegetable bill drops to 0 by next spring.
10 plants, under 15 bucks to start. All of them outliving a balcony I forget exists for weeks at a time. The dirty secret of Asian vegetables isn't that they're exotic. It's that they're absurdly forgiving compared to the fragile lettuce your store sells for the price of a craft beer. Pick 2, ignore them on purpose, see which one wins.